All right, I want to take a look at a topic right now that has been coming up lately, and it is central bank digital currencies. Now, I am not a financial guy, right? I've rarely had two nickels to rub together, so the financial world is not really something that I know a lot about. So, if you do know more about this, you might be able to see things in the cards that I don't see. And if that's the case, feel free to let me know the things that I'm missing here because the financial sector is not my forte, right? Anyway, let's take a look at this. And basically, I'm looking at, are they being implemented? I mean, they are, right? But how far away it is from implementation, or if they are going to become like the standard currency of various countries, and then what that essentially means. So the first two cards that we get are the Emperor and the Six of Cups. Now, the Emperor is about control, and everyone that is afraid of the central bank digital currency, this is why they're afraid of it. They're afraid of it because of the control that it would give the central bank over pretty much everything. And it also, like, Bitcoin is a public ledger, so anyone could look up and see, how much this wallet has and where transfers came from and whatever. But apparently, the central bank digital currency is a private ledger currency system, so the public would not have any access to view what funds people had or where they came from, but the bank would. And that's part of why the emperor, I mean, the control aspect is in here. And the people that are afraid of it are saying, the bank could turn your funds off or just fucking take them away for whatever reason. So it looks like the root card being the emperor means that it is about control. Um, and I think the justification is like to control inflation, and then there would be the possibility of a universal basic income and all of that. So that makes sense that control is the root card, because even if it were noble purposes, it would still be about control. Now, the main card is interesting. We have a Six of Cups. Now, the Six of Cups, what I'm going to do is just look at either side of this because I want to see how this fits in. The Ten of Swords has been coming up a lot lately in various readings. But, all right. So we have a Six of Cups in the middle of the Lovers and the Ten of Swords. So the Six of Cups would be the main energy. This is what leads up to it, and this is where it goes. The Lovers leading up to the Six. The Lovers is the commitment. It is the hardcore commitment, completely giving yourself toward this thing, right? So back here with the Lovers, we would have a very solid commitment. Now, just as I look at it, there is a dynamic that's coming out here with the two figures. So in the Lovers, there's the dark figure here, and then the light figure here. And in the Six of Cups, we have the devil and then the holy person, right? But we have the dark figure and the light figure as well. So here, it's these two different entities that combine and become the same thing, or at least have a shared purpose at that point, just like a couple when they get married. They kind of blend their assets or whatever, and these two individual things become one. Now, in the six is usually more of a memory, but the six is like a story. And this is interesting because these two figures become one here in the lovers. And in the six, this is a good versus evil puppet show. So this would be showing one side being evil and the other side being good. But the truth is, these are probably both, each one hand of the same puppeteer, right? So it's saying, like, oh, the right hand is evil, so you should really cheer for the left hand when they're actually being puppeted by the same person. And over here, this shows the light and the dark figure have come together already. So the metaphor would be the holy man and the devil actually are married. So they've already consolidated, we'll say. So as this moves forward, it ends up in the Ten of Swords, and the Ten of Swords is suffering and breaking. The Ten of Swords would be the manifestation pretty much of all of the things, all of the nightmare scenarios that would go with the digital currency. So, uh, with the Emperor at the root that would talk about control, we have some sort of dynamic of two things that are supposed to be different that are actually not. And one of them is supposed to be bad, and one of them we are supposed to cheer for, but they're the same. And it looks like that leads to suffering. All right. Now, whatever these two things are, this does not make the most sense to me because I'm not a financial guru. I don't really get it. So, if you know more about the financial sector and you have an idea of what these two separate things that are supposed to be separate but are actually not, they're fucking married and they have come together, right? If you have an idea of what that's talking about, feel free to leave a comment because I really don't know. Let's see. So I guess I'm going to start just asking direct questions because this is kind of general at this point. So the question I would ask is Is this being implemented currently? So the central bank digital currencies, are we in a process of implementation right now? Well, all right. The Six of Swords. So here we have the soldier who was in this burning city, and they are leaving the place of like chaos and all of this. So they get in the ship and they're leaving. So right away, it shows, I mean, applied to the situation, this would probably be some sort of financial fucking meltdown, right? This is the burning city. So it would be moving away from a big sort of financial catastrophe like this, or maybe like just an actual catastrophe, moving away from that toward the judgment card. So, as far as implementation goes, I would read this as a yes, and I would read that financial meltdown essentially is the thing that propels it forward toward the judgment card, which is when the final decision is made. So, looking at this, I would say yes. And what else do we get out of this? Judgment. So here you have the angel up here, and it's judging the people. So that actually does fit in with what people are afraid of with the central bank digital currency, that it would kind of double as a form of judgment on people, like and controlling how they can spend things, or if they fucking say the wrong thing or whatever, that they would be judged and money could just be taken away from them. This would kind of support that. But here it looks like it is propelled forward by destruction. So this is like to get out of this ruin, then it has to move forward toward this judgment. Now, as far as implementation, the thing that would actually be showing up as implementation would probably be the burning city, right? Or the financial ruin. Well, I know I did a little bit of research on this just so I would have some fucking idea, right? And uh, the what is it? Fed Now it's called. So in America, the Federal Reserve or whatever, they are testing this out. So it does exist. It is being tested. Maybe not implemented or people being forced to use it, but it is being tested for sure. Okay. So this looks like financial apocalypse is what would move us quickly toward this. Now, I'm going to collect these so I have the whole lexicon to deal with. But I guess first we can look at a timeline. What is the timeline for this to be implemented? And we'll go with the major arcana are going to represent years, and the minor arcana would be probably months, right? So let's just look at a timeline on the implementation of this. And I guess it's probably going to be different depending on where you are in the world, unless there's a one world government before this gets implemented. So what we get is a 17, the star. It would show 17 years, which is a pretty long time, I think, as far as how long it would take this to be implemented. I remember hearing something about the World Economic Forum's 2030 plan. So I was kind of assuming that it was going to be closer to that. But this, it would show 17 years. Now, the interesting thing is the root card here is Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is basically, what is the word I'm looking for? It's like destitution, right? In the Five of Pentacles, this person has nothing. They have no money. They have no clothes. And here's the church. They could stay in the church if they wanted to, but it comes with this surveillance and judgment and all of this stuff. And they're like, fuck this. I'm just going to deal with being out here alone. This is like homelessness and financial ruin. And this is also what everyone is afraid of, right? That the central bank would then have the power to do this to whoever they wanted. And this doesn't necessarily say that that's wrong, but I think when we look at that, sort of what drives the world to it, this would also be the financial apocalypse, right? And it might be like the currency inflation, or I don't know if that's the right word, but it's when a cup of coffee would cost $2,000, hyperinflation. That would lead to this sort of Five of Pentacles type thing. Now, okay, so we have a tentative timeline here. That might be the whole world too. So I am going to ask a second timeline question, because this is something that might get implemented in certain countries before other ones. So I want to see if they're like, what is the earliest? Like, if there is one country that would implement it before the others. And this would show 16 months for a timeline for that. The Ten of Wands, and this is the burden. This is bearing the burden, and the Six of Pentacles is basically about throwing resources away to something that you can't necessarily do anything about. But if you add together this on the month scale, this would be 16 months. So that's like a year and a quarter. Interesting. So it might be incrementally implemented before the, what was it, 20, no, 17 years or whatever that the star was showing, I guess. Yeah, 17 years. All right. Now, if this really is, if you are afraid of this, like if you don't want any part of this central bank digital currency system, let's just look at what we can do about that. So if you don't want anything to do with this shit, what is your best bet? All right. A reversed magician and a reversed king of cups. Dang. Well, that doesn't look very good. So the magician is all about confidence in your abilities and here your control over the many elements, right? And it's how confident you are when you are being sort of put on the stage where the spotlight is on you. Here's the shadows of the people who are observing the magician, and the magician is very confident in what he can do. The magician reversed is basically just having no confidence. Um, and they would fail when they were on stage or like the spotlight was on them. So that's not a very good card to show up for what you can do about it, because the reverse magician would show, I mean, you could essentially fail. And the reverse king of cups, this is the King of Cups is the master of exchange. Now, the currency of the King of Cups is figuratively emotions, right? But the King of Cups is an amazing trader. And that's why he has all of the fancy robes and everything like that, all the jewels and everything, because the king doesn't give something away for without receiving something of at least equal value in return, right? They don't make shitty deals. And normally the King of Cups is an emotional card, so this would be about the emotional exchange. But here we're talking about money, right? So the King of Cups reversed is the one that just makes really shitty exchanges. So they don't get anything in return for what they put out. And these two together are not very good for what you can do about this if you don't want any part of the system. Now, is there going to be a place like a country or a few countries that just aren't going to use this system? Well, the short answer is two, but again, we get this. Oh, now I'm starting to understand the two figures. Okay. I'm going to pull these other ones out, right? There and there. Now we have these two figures. So looking at the countries, maybe there's some countries that use a different system or are holdouts. And they're like, no, we're not going to use that central bank stuff. You have the light side and the dark side. They are literally the same creature. They are not different. Here, the lovers, it shows the light side and the dark side like they are married. And over here, they are being puppeted by the same thing. One is supposed to be really good, and the other one is supposed to be the devil, but they're the fucking same, right? So, will there be a place that you could go, like a country, as this begins getting implemented, that you could go and be safe from it? No, because whatever you think that is, or whatever system they're using, it's actually the fucking same thing. Um, this this seems consistent to me, with what I have seen about, all of this stuff. If we're looking at what I call the New World Order, right? I do not believe it can be escaped. And this is why. Because the things that appear to be the resistance are not. Um, and I felt that has been true for a while, just like it is true in politics, right? So you have this one person over here, and half the country thinks they're great, and they think the other one is a scumbag. And then you have the other one, and it's, half the people hate that person, think they're a scumbag, and the other half, for whatever reason, think that they're a fucking saint. They are the same. They are the same, right? And this looks like it's true with the currencies as well. Now, I want to ask a question about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin might fucking be one of these two. You know, where does Bitcoin fit into this? Or the other cryptocurrencies? Because we'll just ask about Bitcoin because there's too many cryptocurrencies. But where does Bitcoin fit into all of this? And it's the fucking devil. So here is the devil right here. And here is like the saint or whatever. They are being puppeted by the same fucking person, right? So according to this, if if you want to keep away from the central bank and you want to go to Bitcoin or one of the cryptos, they are two heads of the same creature. Two heads of the same fucking creature. And this makes sense to me. But again, I'm not a financial guy. I'm a tarot reader, right? So if you know more about this world, feel free to let me know what you see and hear. And if you are a Patreon member, then you can request specific angles that you want me to look at this from. Patreon members can request readings, and they can also request like additional, angles to readings. So check out the Patreon if you want to request that sort of thing. And I think you should check out the Patreon anyway. And it's Tarot by Fergus, the Patreon channel is. And it's as low as $5 a month. Currently, before all of this happens, right? But okay, that is what we have for now. Peace.